The current situation with the crisis is, I think you've answered that, but just sort of to sum it up, do you think that this is a real opportunity for co-ops?
If we don't go aggressively into this situation,
Another
we'll really need our backsides kicked, frankly. I mean, I don't know anybody that seriously is calling for demutualisation in financial services now. And we can turn around to the right wing and we can say to the right, we can say, look, if you really believe in free markets, you should be supporting co-ops because we're the only free market institution left standing. You know, your people are now bankrupt and nationalised, but we're solid. And we've got integrity and we've got transparency. And okay, we're not saying you shouldn't re-establish private banks and have other systems as well, but you really must recognise that the mutual sector is a really important player here and should get policy support. And you know, why aren't you investing in it? Why aren't you members of credit unions and co-ops? I think we've really got a huge opportunity here with a lot of working. I mean, 1 in 3 Americans banks with a credit union now. American credit unions are incredibly conservative institutions from what they used to be or could be. But I mean, you should have 2 out of 3 Americans with this going on, because with the folk memory of 1929, which is why 1 in 3 Americans banks with the credit union, of course. But with this now happening, they should all be saying, hey, you know, we should be able to double our numbers now, be going aggressively on the offensive, and everywhere we should be looking at establishing more co-op banks, more co-op financial services, and then using this capital to invest in job creation, in green economic activity, and getting ready to, you know, really shift the balance of power in the economy. But if we're going to do that, we've really got to start thinking about how do you transform financial services, and this is the really critical thing. How do you transform patterns of investment into a situation where for 20%, top 20% of this population, we have to enter a no growth, and the bottom 80% to allow the bottom 80% to come up, and lots of our things have got to go down. And to me, this is why, incidentally, I'm a Catholic, because I think that ultimately it's a spiritual challenge. You know, if you ask me to give up something that I've got, it's much harder than
ethical challenge.
Well, no, I think it is ethical. I mean, yes, of course it is ethical. I don't dispute that, but I think it's spiritual because it's really about how I feel, and what I feel is important. It's deeper than just an ethical decision, because I have to think about what's really important and what defines me. And I think that in America particularly, and to a less extent, but it's prevalent in Europe too, but it's very much perhaps more pronounced in America, there is a sense in which we are the things we own. And when we stop being the things we own and we give them up, then there's that kind of empty thing of, well, what's left? You know, who am I now? What am I now? You know, can I really risk not having these symbols and these status objectives and just be something? And it's those sorts of ideas of humility, really, and abstinence that I think are at the very heart of a transformation we need to make, really. And I'm not saying you have to. I mean, I'm married to a Buddhist. Don't let's misunderstand me here. I'm not a kind of bigoted Christian, or I don't think any other religious orders. And I spent years being a Hindu, by the way. So I've got, you know, a very ecumenical view. And I was very touched. I have almost, I think I could say, a Muslim daughter, because I was in Indonesia and I found all these young, very intense young Muslims all joining co-ops founded by Catholics in Indonesia. And these young people, familiar with my stuff, they'd actually read some of my stuff. I was knocked out. And there was this young girl there, she was beaming. I mean, I don't get this adoration from my own kids, you know. She was beaming at me. She was beaming at me all through my speech. And such a sweet child. She had this headgear on. And over she came to see me, and she got one of my papers she got down off the web, you know. And, you know, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity for ecumenical, interfaith activity. And with humanists, I mean, I don't exclude anybody, you know. The thing about Catholic social doctrine we should never forget is it's secular. That's according to the Catholic Church. Doesn't say you've got to believe in a virgin birth or you've got to believe in a resurrection or anything like that. It just says, look, this is our social doctrine. It doesn't conflict with any of our fundamental beliefs and values, but we believe that it's something that everybody can sign up to. And I presented it in the Turkish side of Cyprus to a Greek Orthodox, Muslim and secular audience, waiting to get my head shot off, because I wouldn't have gone over there, because I don't approve of the Turks and I don't approve of their invasion, but the government, I mean, not the people, but they invited me, and I said, well, I'll give you an uncompromising paper. If you accept it, I'll come. And I said, the role of Catholic social doctrine in civil society, and they accepted it at the 11th and a half hour. It must have been a hell of a debate. But I went over there and I gave it, and I listed all the various principles, and I said, which one of these principles contradicts your fundamental values? Nobody could find anything. Not the secular Turks, not the Muslims or the Greek Orthodox. In fact, the Muslim Turks actually were very, very keen on it, quite interestingly. And that's why I do think, it's a secular document. You don't have to believe in God to sign up to Catholic social doctrine. And that's why I think it's a really powerful thing, and I don't think it contradicts. There's lots of arguments about abortion laws and what Catholics think about this and that, and whether we should have women priests or not. And I know we get into a lot of, but we get into a lot of trouble with feminists about wanting to avow more deeply held views. But if you look at, as you say, look at Catholic social doctrine, doesn't touch any of those things, because these are theological issues, really. There are theological issues that are about, what do we mean by the sacraments and celebrating the sacraments, and where do we think life comes from, and where is it? They're not social doctrine. So even the most radical feminist, as far as I'm concerned, can sign up to Catholic social doctrine.